All right, from the shores of the frozen North Saskatchewan River right here in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, straight over to I think did I read this right? Is it Knoxville, Tennessee with my next guest?
That's correct.
This is Zach Householder on the line, guitarist of Whitechapel right here on Do You Know Jack, man? How you doing? Welcome.
Good, man. Thank you. Doing great.
Well, it's definitely a pleasure and an honor having you on. And of course, you know, the big news with Whitechapel is that March 29th via Metal Blade Records, your newest full-length, The Valley, is about to drop. So that's pretty freaking cool.
Extremely cool. I think I know it's typical to say for every band, like, they always say they're proud of the album they just did, but like, we really are very proud of that record as far as it coming together and really getting the vibe behind it, and it has a vibe, and that's what we wanted more than anything.
Yeah, well, and I wouldn't disagree. In fact, by all accounts, just from the little bit of research that I've been reading, I mean, this record sort of represents a new leap in the evolutionary scale for the band, right?
It does. It's definitely, we had the last album, we had 2 songs with a little bit of singing on it, and this album, quite a few of the songs have singing on it, and we're stepping more into that door in that realm of just like experimenting, and sky's the limit, man. Like, deathcore is just such a rigid, genre. It's really easy to step outside of what it's supposed to be, and we just kind of don't care. So.
Yeah, well, now it's interesting that you mentioned the experimental aspects of the genre, because I was watching an interview with I think it was Phil and Alex, where they name drop Rivers of Nile having a saxophone solo in one of their songs, which is
that's like Rivers is one of those bands, man. They can just it's like it's what we strive to be. It's just they're a band that can do that. Like,
yeah.
Mastodon kind of do whatever they want and get away with it. And they both of those bands, they execute it well. And Rivers is, they're a phenomenal band. They're fantastic, and they're great guys too. And so yeah, bands like that just stepping through that doorway of experimenting and trying different stuff. It's like that needs to happen more. You need to set an example, and it's not always going to work, but at least you're trying.
Why hasn't Whitechapel, who might be considered a leader in the deathcore genre, I mean, why is it taking you guys this long to sort of get more experimental with aspects of your sound, do you think?
It's not that we didn't want to be earlier on. I think you have to time it right, and it has to feel right. You can't just go, from like A to G all of a sudden. You got to take the rest of the alphabet in the middle of it. You got to go through those steps as well. So it's like you can't just like, okay, we just drop our second album. This is Exile. Here's the very next album with a bunch of singing on it. It just wouldn't have felt right. It didn't seem right. Timing wasn't right, and it all came down to how it felt, and it just needed to feel like it was the right thing to do in the right time. So
yeah. Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree, and maybe part of coming out of a bit out of your comfort zone too is the fact that you guys are on your 4th record with producer Mark Lewis.
Yeah. No, I mean, we changed it up a little bit this time too, though. We he tracked it. We're a lot more hands on now with our music than we used to be.
Right.
So I'd say it was recorded by, he engineered it, and it was recorded by us. Because we recorded, a lot of it too. But he definitely did the bigger parts of it, the parts, that are more important. And then we sent it off to David Castillo, who does like Catatonia and Demu and bands like that. We had him mix it.
Uh-huh.
And so that was a little different this time around. It had a different flavor on the album itself. And it definitely gave it the bump that we wanted as far as the sound goes. So
yeah. Well, and I mean, there's a different drummer on the record too, if I'm right, and somebody that formerly worked with Animals as Leaders. So I mean, maybe that has a little bit to do with it.
Oh yeah. I mean, Naveen, that guy's been in the metal world for forever. He's just he's an absolute monster when it comes to drums. And when we were in the studio with him, he brought his flavor to the songs, and that's what we needed. Now he's used to playing stuff that's a little more crazier than what we play.
Yeah.
But we had we were like a lot of the times the feel we had created with like the program drums to begin with. We'd say, hey, kind of keep this feel, but add your flavor to it, So it wanted to keep the vibe the same, but have his little style to it. And I think that he executed that phenomenally. So he did such a good job.
Yeah. Now, where are you guys at in terms of, maybe finding somebody a little bit more permanent to fill the seat? I mean, I'm assuming that Naveen's not the guy.
Well, no, I would love to have Naveen as a permanent drummer, but he's got his thing with Impios, and that's his fiance that sings for the band, and that's his and her project, and I can't, you can't be mad at the guy for wanting to, see that through and do that because that's like a dream come true, So
yeah,
that's his thing right now, and we would love to have someone permanent. That's the goal, man. That's inevitably the goal, but we just keep having some bad luck with just finding drummers that just don't fit the bill, man.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Well, listen now, just in the last couple of days, I received sort of the first batch of radio singles, for the Valley, which is what the full length's going to be called. And I don't think you guys could have really picked 4 different tracks. I mean, just starting with the track Black Bear, for instance, the opening riff almost sounds like Korn inspired. Is there any background in new metal in the band, or is that just sort of how things worked out there?
Well, I think we all inevitably listen a wide spectrum of metal, but I think as much as people like to dog new metal sometimes, let's be honest, new metal sometimes it's pretty heavy. You know what I mean? Like there's some you can't deny that like Korn, they had some heavy hitters back in the day. They still do, they're still a heavy band, especially like live. Those riffs are insane, and so yeah, I'd say there's a little new metal influence as far as that goes. Phil actually wrote that opening riff of that song.
Oh wow!
And yeah, so it was his baby from the start, and then he had that riff, and we all sat down and put our heads together on the verse and the bridge riff, and that was kind of a Alex and Ben thing there as far as the verse and the bridge goes. But so yeah, we just made it. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like a new metal Meshuggah as far as how the riff sounds. So.
That's not a bad way of describing it. Of course, then going over to Brimstone now, you've got this kind of slow, groovy, almost like constant breakdowns sort of vibe with maybe a dash of Pantera thrown in there.
That song was actually it almost didn't make it to the record because we had put it on the back burner, and we had to almost didn't use it, and then I sat down and I was like, okay, this song, because the main riff originally was like a fill. It was like had a tom fill under it. I was like, in my head, I was like, no, that needs to be just slammed out, just like kind of like a Lars beat under it, kind of simple, but just heavy. And Mark and I literally sat down in a day and we just rearranged it and recorded it, and that's what. Then you had Brimstone. That was the song, and I was like, yeah, this song it just had a vibe to it, man, because the riff was just going to go to waste, and I think it was just worth redoing.
Yeah. Well, and then getting over to Third Depth, there now is where you've got a very, very large chunk of the quote unquote clean singing. And I mean, am I wrong to think that Phil is sort of channeling his inner Maynard James Keenan here? He sounds really, really similar, almost like a dead ringer.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that Phil, we all like Tool as far as the band goes. We're all, in much respect to the musicians and everything. Whether you like the music or not, you can't deny, the talent of some of the musicianship in that band. And yeah, it's safe to say that he gets kind of influence from that, and like the kind of the Corey Taylor vibe sometimes too. And yeah, it's a safe assumption.
It's amazing, whenever Tool hints at dropping their long-awaited full length, it's like the whole heavy metal world just grinds to a halt for a second, and it's like we all collectively then lean in and go, "What? A new Tool album?"
Yeah, I don't know when it's going to drop, man. I'd love to hear something from it, but they're doing great at like keeping it, under wraps right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and then of course the last single here that I got from the label is "When a Demon Defiles a Witch," and now here finally the blast beats emerge, and this is just a straight up kind of old school deathcore vibe you got going.
Yeah, well, it's I think it's a little more. I guess if I had to look at it, it's different from how anybody else listens to it. I guess from my point of view, it's more kind of like melodic, behemoth-y kind of sounding, kind of melodic, black metal in a sense. But I think this song, we didn't want to release this right off the bat. We didn't want to release, like, all the songs are good. We love all the songs, but, it had to kind of step up as gradually went, like have a variety of showing what the album's capable of, and then release the big boys. And Demon is one of the big boys. We have one coming after that. It's going to hopefully, be another big boy as far as one of the singles goes. So
Right. Yeah. Well, now, this record too, it's a bit of a concept album, and I'm not sure, maybe Whitechapel hasn't really delved into the concept record type ballpark, maybe not as heavily as this one anyway.
Not in a long time, actually. Exile was kind of the last, our second album. It was kind of the last concept album we did, and then everything after that. Well, no, I take that back. I guess New Era, the one after that, was more of a concept as well. But for Self-Titled and Endless War and Mark of the Blade, there wasn't really a concept behind it, And even though it's a little easier because you can, your lyrics and your concepts for each song can kind of be different, I think having a concept for a record gives something for the listener to latch onto. Like, you want to associate the concept and the colors of the album cover and all that stuff. It all kind of melds together into one pot of what you latch onto with the music, and finding that connection is the hardest part to make happen. So I feel like it definitely, as far as concepts go, it got accomplished on this record, and it adds to the vibe of the record.
Yeah. Well, then, like I said off the top, the record, The Valley, releases March 29th on Metal Blade. So, I guess the natural way to end this little conversation is, what's the next step for the band? What's going on over the next 5 or 6 months for you guys?
Well, we got the tour coming up in April and May, the Chaos and Carnage tour. We're going on the road with Dying Fetus and Fallujah and Revocation and Fight, and pretty solid lineup as far as the tour goes, because I love all those bands. And then we do that, and then we're home for a little while. Then we got some European summer festivals to go to, which I've always loved doing. Europe in the summertime, it's great. The festivals are always such a good time. And then honestly, man, we're just all right in between that, because we're trying to. I think we want to keep the wheels rolling on the albums, and get material for the next album as soon as possible. We don't want to rush it, but we just want to have enough material to work with when it comes time to do it. So really, writing is just our main concern outside of touring right now. So
yeah, that's fair. Where do you feel you fit into the whole songwriting vibe and this whole thing?
Yeah, well, I pretty much, I know Naveen, he is the reason the drums are so sick on the record. But when I do the writing, they write here at my studio. That's how we did the whole last album at my house. And I'm in the workstation pretty much, and I do all the drums. And so the initial feel for the song right off the bat, unless they have an idea, usually comes from me, or et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so I'm right. We're all in a room together writing, and we're all it's like someone has a riff, and we say, "Oh, try this, do this right here. Let me," or take the guitar out of the other person's hand. Like, what about playing it like this, or et cetera, et cetera. And so there's no outside of somebody just having a whole song and being like, "That's actually a pretty solid song. Let's use the bulk of that and fix a few parts." Outside of that, everybody's in the room writing. Their heads are in the pot, man. Everybody's writing together. There was a lot of that in this record. There's a lot of everyone just sitting in the room and heads together and writing like that. And I think it showed, because it's the music's better on this record, and it's not as one-sided. Now, granted, there's a song or two that's like more one guy than the other. That just always happens inevitably, because if a riff's good, a riff's good. You don't want to. There's no ego. There's no like. That's a good thing. We're lucky with this band because of that, because there's no ego of people saying, well, this is my song, it has to be this way. It's never been like that. It's like, hey, this is good, we should use this. Let's use it to its full potential, So
Yeah.
that's how it works with our band. So
All right, man. Well, you have a good rest of your day, and like I said, much appreciated for your time today.
of course, thank you for everything, Jack. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.